Spring is in the air at Global Voice Broadcasting. Fresh new shows are hitting the airwaves every day. Shows about all the things that matter to you in your life. Music, fashion, celebs, and more. It's all here, and it's getting better every day. Only at Global Voice Broadcasting. You want to get fit and you want to look hot. It's the weekend and it's time to tackle fitness at its core. We'll tone up your health, wellness, and nutrition from the inside out, unlike anything you've ever heard before. We'll shape up your life and have fun doing it while motivating you to your full potential. So hang up the suit and get ready to work it. It's Fitness Friday with your 2 smart dumbbells.
Fitness Friday, ladies and gentlemen. It is Friday, May 29th, and I am late because I woke up early. And it's just been absolutely apeshit crazy out here, but that's okay because we are cruising towards June. It is the end of this month as of Sunday, basically Monday at that point, and we are cruising on a very fast explosion towards summer. And my God, how much fun is that going to be before work is over? Kids are out of school. One of my clients yesterday was talking about how many school events they have with their child finishing the school year. And it was one of those moments where you just remember, you have that momentary shock of you were actually in school for as long as you know you were in school, and now it's all over. Which is very exciting. For those of us who at least school is over for. For the rest of you who it's not, I'm sorry. You'll get there eventually. Trust me, it does end at some point. And then you were faced with the internal dialogue of, do I want to go back? Or am I just going to kind of hang out and keep doing what I'm doing? Either way, you'll figure it out. I wanted to take a minute today. Last time I was in here, we had last week off. I was down in San Antonio, which is now about 20 feet underwater. But I was down in San Antonio last weekend for my best friend Gabi's wedding. Congratulations to Gabi and James. They are officially married back in New York. Cruising through, it was a great time. Obviously got to see the entire family, lots of friends that I wouldn't normally get to see, and it was really nice to get down there and get to have a few days off and get to recenter. And it got me really realizing, both with, how Gabi and James were treating the weekend and how excited everyone else was to be there. Not to mention that I was the man of honor on the bridal party side of the aisle, which was fun. But it was a moment where I got to see so many people who were so happy, and they were celebrating so many different things. It wasn't just that Gabi and James were getting together. It was that they all got to come to San Antonio, whether you want to call it good luck or just a total dump. It was pouring in Texas, as you may have known from watching the news recently, that my home state is completely underwater. But everybody was happy for different reasons, and we were celebrating so many different things and people being together, and it was just a great thing to see and get to experience. And it got me thinking that really we as individuals don't celebrate our minor victories as much as we probably should. And it's something as simple as having the opportunity to be able to get together and go see everyone, not just calendar years or another birthday or another huge trip that you got to go on. It's not just those things. It's all the little things that happen in between and what makes those so important. And truly, why we seem to just kind of suck at doing all of those things and celebrating those accomplishments. And I wanted to take a minute today to talk about not only the importance of celebrating, but where you really can dive in and find those moments to celebrate that will not only increase your well-being, which I have spoken about many times, but increase even your momentary happiness. And this is a very life coaching kind of topic that gets discussed a lot. There's a lot of cog B that gets brought up in celebrating, or in talking about the importance of celebrating, but I just kind of wanted to mention it on a very broad level, which we're going to talk about. And then I also am going to segue into kind of the ways that the general population tends to celebrate. We're going to have a little section in between talking about booze and what that actually does for you, because amongst celebrating last weekend with friends and family, I also consumed a slight amount of alcohol, which one does at weddings, unless one is sober, of course, in which you would not. But however, our family is anything but sober, and I know that a lot of us do tend to celebrate by getting together and having food and or drinks, which again, being that this is a fitness, health, and wellness show, I feel like I need to tie that back in there somewhere. So I've got six little quick things about not necessarily just how bad booze is for you, but even how it can be good for you in a cognitive celebratory sense. And then on a completely different track that has absolutely nothing to do with celebrating and nothing to do with booze, unless you're talking about a couple of the fermented objects that I'm going to be speaking about, I wanted to take a minute and talk about ugly vegetables, because I haven't spoken to Meg about this, but Meg and I, our resident nutritionists, have really delved into these trendy, hideous vegetables and what exactly they can do for you. And being that summer is just 24 days away, ladies and gentlemen, I think we're even 23 today, I thought it was important to bring some light and some beauty to these ugly vegetables. So we'll get to that and wrap everything up at the end. But again, going back to this importance of celebrating, we really are, as a population, bombarded with this eternal cliche of, life's a journey. You should enjoy the ride. You know what? You stop and smell those roads. All that crap that we just hear all the time. And really, though, as I sit here and cringe, and it is cringeworthy so many of the times, these expressions really are there to firmly remind each and every single one of us that it is important to take time out of our experience to celebrate what it is that's actually happening in that moment, as important as it is to do so, to just take some time out, period. Even if you're not celebrating something, just being present and being momentary so that you can enjoy every single moment. And what happens is celebrating our successes and acknowledging personal growth is always going to help keep you on track, and more importantly, from a fitness perspective, even from just a life coaching perspective, it is going to keep you motivated to continue to achieve your goals. There's been a lot that's been published in studies that talk about, motivated individuals and those that they feel like they're making adequate progress, those that aren't. There's all kinds of things that go into this. I did an entire show on intrinsic motivation versus all kinds of other outside motivational factors that can be used in order to help one achieve their goals. Benefits for all of these things are pats on the back that tell you, you've just done a good job. They might be stimulating and in some cases even exciting in that short term, but truthfully, they're really just carrots that you're dangling in front of yourself that are not going to be sufficient enough to achieve a more reasonable and sustainable motivation. Those things are very momentary because, again, you are not actually stopping to take a moment and absorb what you've done. And I'm going to preface this entire conversation by saying I don't really think that I'm saying you need to get on Facebook or any other social media platform or make t-shirts about saying, oh, look what I did today, but more about just taking that moment with yourself to say, I did do this. This is something that I wanted to do. And even if it's not the happiest of celebratory moments, even if it's just I've been in a really shit place for the last few days, and I figured out where I was, and now I know how to work through that, to have a sound moment with yourself, to say, okay, I know how I can get through that, is going to give you so much more motivation to get through things on a different level and at different times, that you will find that you can achieve these milestones more often and with better success. In order for this to happen, each individual really does need to have an idea of what your end goal is, as well as some concrete milestones that would inform you that you are on track. This goes back to how how many times have I said, write your goals down, put them in front of you, put them on your phone, have someone bring them up to you, ask your workout partner, what have we accomplished this goal recently, or do you remember when this was difficult? And you just kind of take that moment and you do it. If you don't have those things written, clearly defined out, you never really know what you're accomplishing. And in and of that alone, you are setting yourself up not for failure, but not to be able to completely achieve everything that you really do work hard for each and every day. In general, people tend to focus, as I said, on calendar events to mark your celebrations. So, we're going to throw birthday parties, we're going to have gifts for someone we love on Valentine's Day, we're going to throw a big New Year's Eve blowout because, 2014's over, let's get into 2015, or you're going to go get drunk if your team wins some sporting event, and that's going to be your big hoorah on, yay, we've done a great thing. There's usually no shortage of feel-good events, and that's all that those are really at the end of the day. Whether it's movies, music, concerts, birthdays, or work accomplishments, those things are going to happen in and of themselves just as life happens. However, today I am talking about those things that you put into motion, those things that you have set out to achieve and that you are going to either stop at nothing to make sure that you do, or figure out at some point along the way that it's not for you, which is also something that should be celebrated. Of all of these things, celebrations in life are going to be general, but they are important, and they are not enough to sustain happiness and continue that motivation. And again, I keep going back to that word, motivation. You know what motivation is. You know what motivates you to do something better. There can be positive and negative motivation, but as long as it's getting you to accomplish a goal, it is something that should be looked at. However, there are different ways that celebration can be called for. What I do as a coach day in and day out is I strive to enable my clients, my spin students, my friends, everyone who's around me to think more deeply about truly what is important to you. That is going to be completely individual and unique. If it's important to you, it might not be as important to me, and that is fine. However, to actually stop and think deeply about what is important to you is the entire idea behind the stronger sense of purpose that gives you more meaning in your everyday life. Again, very general and kind of overarching, but if you actually stop for a second and say, what is really important to me right now? Whatever just came into your mind is what's important to you right now. Ryan Weiss has sat right here across from me, my spiritual guru, and spoken many times about how we will think about the same thing 90% of the time until we come up with a new thought, and then we'll rotate that into the equation. Your brain's not really thinking about as much as you lead it to believe, day in and day out. And these are just all things that you need to focus on. So what needs to happen is the more meaningful your actions are, the more meaningful the steps to achieve them need to be taken in order to fulfill your purpose. If one can assume that at some level, even if it is purely subconscious, people know what their purpose is, then it is unfortunate that they rarely take the time out of their day to acknowledge not only the steps that it is going to take to fulfill them, but also the celebration that is going to take to let yourself know, yes, I did that, and to keep you happy and driven. We've talked about it in here 100 times. What does it take to keep going? After you accomplish that one goal, what does it take to do another one and just to keep going and to have multiple small, achievable, measurable goals all going at once? These are all not the easiest things to accomplish, but once you get in this pattern, you can very simply continue to do it. And what you will find is that you create a greater sense of well-being, which is strung together moments of happiness that create a better sense of everyday life all in all. Regardless of whether you have achieved something concrete or not, even if you think you have failed in doing something, you get what you can out of every experience, and you celebrate your progress along with your own path. Understand that your path is going to be different. Understand that your way of celebrating is going to be different. My workout partner, Scott, is a perfect example. Every time he hits a new PR, he goes and he tells like 3 people in the gym that mean something to him. And it's not in a braggart sense. It's not in a, look what I did, come watch. He loves to do that because he's so excited about what he just did that he can't keep it to himself. I am the complete opposite. I take mental note of what I've just done. I give myself a mental high five. Usually Scott gives me an affirmative high five. And I move forward from that moment, and I say in my mind at that point, okay, in 3 days when I revisit this lift, since that's what I'm talking about in terms of fitness right now, I'm going to achieve X. And in my mind, I know what I have to do in between A and B to accomplish that. I know that I need to rest. I know that I need to refuel. I know that I need to hydrate. And I know that I need to stay focused on exactly what I did, how it felt, and what I could do better. That is taken in and out of the gym. That can be put in your work. That can be put in your relationships. That can be put in your everyday life. That can be put in making something as simple as a damn grocery list to go to the store on I could do this better. So before rushing headfirst into making your resolutions or revisiting your resolutions or revisiting your summer goals or even making your summer goals from this point forward, take just a second to answer 2 really important questions. The first one is, what did I achieve in the last month that I am on track to achieving a deeper purpose? This can be in fitness, this can be in health, this can be in family, wellness, vacation, anything. What did I achieve in the last month that shows I am on track towards my deeper purpose? Second question is, what have I learned in the last year that will help me move forward towards my goals? That one is the hard one, because you have to think back on everything that's happened in the last year and say, okay, how do I move forward? This is very much a conversation that I could have had at the beginning of this year and talking about celebrating your goals and everything else, but resolution season, this would have fallen on deaf ears, because at this point now, looking towards summer, when I know that a lot of people are trying to come up with new goals because they've either fallen off on the wagon or they're just really motivated and happy that it's not snowing and abysmal outside and they have some opportunity to get out and try some new things, to look back at the last year and say, what can I do differently and what can I do better? This is all to help you accomplish your goals. And whether you like it or not, the success of learning of your life up to now provides a huge springboard for both you and your future successes to find a greater happiness and to maintain a greater sense of well-being. So taking some time out of this very moment right now to just stop and answer those questions, or even stop and reflect on something that is far more momentary that has happened today that you can celebrate, is a step in the right direction to make sure that you are always accomplishing small goals, accomplishing them often, and celebrating them. I was talking to everybody in my spin class this morning. It's 6 a.m. I'm in Santa Monica at Cycle Beach House. I have a room full of, I swear to you, I have seen dead people that are more excited. It's 6 a.m. It's early. They've all got work to go to. And what I realized in my moment is that where I'm sitting there trying to be this big, energy to pull them forward and to make them be so excited about what they've done and how the last hour has gone. It's not even 7 a.m. They're just happy to have it over with. They're probably happy that I'm finished speaking and yelling at them and telling them to go faster. But they're also happy that it's just done. And that is an accomplishment. That is a celebration of just the moment to be finished. And whether they stay for the stretch or not, and actually take those moments to say, okay, I just did this at 6 a.m. on a Friday, and I have the rest of the day ahead of me. I know that their accomplishment is through the roof, because not only just to finish it, but to have physically shown up was the hardest piece of work. Anything that you do for the rest of the day from that point on, whether it's going to be work-related, whether it's going to be resistance that comes from a friend or a co-worker or just somebody you pass on the street that challenges you for a minute, you have the potential to reach in and find whatever motivation that is to say, I can get through this. And not only to get through everything, but to celebrate that small accomplishment. Again, going back to how we celebrate these things, I wanted to take a very, very small side note, but fun side note, and talk about drinking for a second, because going back to the wedding that I've just gone to, that is a huge accomplishment for Gabi and James. It is definitely something to be celebrated, and there's nothing more public about a wedding celebration to say, look at us, we're in love, we're married, which is great. But I really was I would say taken aback. I would say more kicked in the face by the amount of alcohol that we consumed at certain points, which is fine because we were there and we were safe and everything was great. But in terms of that being something that we so often use to celebrate, I will go back to those life accomplishments. If you're talking about fitness, you're probably not driving to the booze to be like, oh, hey, I lifted 225 pounds today. Let's go have a drink. However, there's a lot of boozing in big urban areas, and there's a lot of boozing that we do in terms of celebration. In terms of health and wellness, we've heard for so long that drinking does come, or moderate drinking, does come with a huge variety of health benefits, but also there's plenty that can come down in terms of the not so great health benefits. We've seen that drinking red wine in moderation is good for your heart. Research has shown that it can reduce coronary heart disease. Beer is high in antioxidants, which may help prevent age-related eye diseases. There's another study that says middle-aged women who drink in moderation have a better chance of non-drinkers and staying healthy as they age. The list goes on and will change probably by tomorrow as to what's healthy and what's not. However, there's 6 simple things that I do want you to remember about boozing. This doesn't just have to do with celebrating your goals. This has to do with summertime. As we move into a period where everything's a little lighter, there's a little, more outdoor activity to go to, barbecues, family get-togethers, parties, everything that you can do, all these little celebrations, I feel as though if I just tell you what these are and have a general conversation, not just with you, but with myself, about what goes on with these things, there's plenty that you might have a little second thought of, or at least bit of knowledge to say, oh, hey, okay, well, before I go do this, here's what could happen. First and foremost, as you all know, we are probably drinking more than we think. There's a lot of research that goes in to say that the average drinker might drink between 3,700 calories of beer or 3,700 calories of alcohol at a party over the summer holiday. That is a lot of drinking. And even though 27% of 18 to 24-year-olds and 33% of 25 to 35-year-olds said that they have been known to skip a meal to quote-unquote make room, P.S. this is not a good idea, for drinking, they all still ended up drinking so much that would it have taken 7 hours of jogging to work off all of that summertime drinking. How much should you be drinking if you are a drinker? Well, the U.S. dietary guidelines say that moderate drinking is no more than 1 drink per day for women and no more than 2 for men. That's 2 shots or 2 small ounces of alcohol a day for men and 1 per women. Reality check, 12 ounces of beer, 1.5 ounces of a spirit, or 5 ounces of wine. That is considered moderate drinking. If you're drinking more than that, that is considered over drinking. Now, I'm not going to tell you that you're going to go to a party and be like, oh, well, Brandon said that, it's just 1 ounce, 1 drink per day for women and 1 drink, or 2 drinks for a man. No. That's just so you understand exactly where all these guidelines come from. And I laugh at them as much as you do. I will never forget one of my coaches at one point said, well, I only drink 1 cup of hot chocolate at a time. I just don't understand why you're going back and drinking so many of these beverages. Because it's a culture. Nobody sits down and drinks 10 cups of hot chocolate. Like, you just don't do that. And it also doesn't have that same type of effect. Like, when we go out and we're celebrating, you're drinking with friends to accomplish an effect. First of all, the first drink is the, oh, hey, let's have a great time. The second drink is, oh, well, I probably could have 1 more. The third drink is probably where you should be like, oh, I probably shouldn't have had that one. That's just what happens. But that's what we go out to do. And as long as you're aware of these things, you can move forward and understand exactly what's happening and also understand what it might cost you in terms of your celebratory habits. If you are in a place where you're counting carbohydrates, drinking for the summertime and all these celebrations really could mean you are counting your carbs all wrong. Especially if you are trying to lose weight or get into shape, there's different types of alcohol you should be drinking. In terms of sheer calorie count, we all know that beer has the most calories at about 150 calories per drink. However, if you opt for a lighter beer, it might drop you down to 100 or a little less, which is about the same serving as a glass of wine or 1 liquor drink. Beer usually will have 10 to 20 grams of carbohydrates, although strong sweet beers have more, and lagers and stouts have at least 6 to 11 grams of carbs. If wine is your thing, a glass of red only has 2 grams of carbs, and keep in mind that drier wines will have fewer carbs and less sugar. Hard liquor, surprisingly to some, actually does come in at 0 sugar and carbs, which might seem like a win, but it all, of course, depends on how you drink. Again, going back to the survey, most people are drinking a lot more than you would think. However, the trick comes in the mixers when there's a big difference between straight vodka and a Cosmo. When you put that cranberry juice in there, you got the sugar content going through the roof. We all know that there could be several health benefits that come from booze. Keeping your bar tab under control actually might be doing your brain a favor, though. Drinking moderate amounts of alcohol throughout your life can actually ward off cognitive decline and improve your brain function. I figure if it can keep everything else preserved, it might as well keep your brain preserved. And declining in cognition is usually due to the brain not receiving enough oxygen, and alcohol actually makes the blood more fluid, which helps supply the brain with a remaining constant and does increase oxygen to the brain. Does the type of alcohol matter to increase this effect? Absolutely effing not. It's about the actual alcohol, not where it comes from. This is not your carte blanche excuse to say, well, Brandon said that I could go drink and it's going to make me smarter because I'm going to have more alcohol to my brain. It's just one of the possible side effects that might be able to help you out, because I'm not going to read you a list about booze and tell you that it's just all terrible for you, because that's just not what we've learned. There's plenty of other research that says that it could help you prevent a stroke. There's plenty of people who think it could actually make you sleep better. However, on the sleeping thing, it's actually not doing your body any favors. It's not going to help you sleep. It may help you sleep immediately, more from a passing out effect. But as we all know, you're probably going to pay for it when you wake up. Boozy beverages are going to interrupt your sleep homeostasis, and that is the process that helps keep you asleep. While alcohol is a sleep inducer, it can disrupt your dream cycle, which is your REM cycle, which is where you're getting your actual amount of rest, which in the long term will wake you up, making you feel more tired at the end of the day, even though it has caused you to knock out. We all know that even one episode of binge drinking can completely knock your health, and apart from the headache that comes from just drinking too much, sometimes it just rockets you in the wrong direction, because we all know what happens. You get off track, it's one thing that leads to another. You don't go to the gym the next day, which puts you on the path of, tomorrow's my day off, I'm not going to go that day, and then you just end up 5 days later down the road, and everything has changed because of one night of celebratory drinking. There are plenty of ways to celebrate other things. It's not just booze, although I'm not going to tell you should not go do that. If that's what you want to do and that's a celebratory process, then by all means go. Just understand what you need to do in order to keep it moderate. In the meantime, however, try going and celebrating in a different way. As weird as it sounds, yesterday I did go to a yoga class with my dear Mandy over in Brentwood at Maha Yoga, and the whole time I got to sit there and be completely silent and listen to my own thoughts. And after I got over the discomfort and a slight boredom of being in yoga and my brain started to run, I got to think about all the things that I've gotten to do in the last week, which then led to the last month and then kind of into the last year. And I got into this celebratory process, and I'm like, oh, well, that's cool. That's fun, and these are all things that you get to sit back and relax and think on. I started at the top of the show by saying, these are the times to sit back and actually relish moments in order to make time to say, I did something right, I did something well, and I am going to celebrate that accomplishment, however small. When it's a big accomplishment, even better. But once you learn to celebrate all these tiny things, it eventually adds up to the big things. And that, my friends, is the entire importance of why you keep going and doing what you're doing, why you bust your ass day in and day out, and why you've gotten to the place that you are. So take a moment, reflect on what makes you happy, reflect on what you've celebrated, reflect on what you should have celebrated more, to find your inner purpose and set some new goals, because today is the perfect day to do it, as we are just a couple days away from June. Moving into our trendy ugly vegetable comments, I really have had fun at the store and the farmer's market in the last few weeks looking at hideous vegetables. And I know that that's weird, and how does the vegetable feel? I don't really think vegetables have feelings. I'm not sure on a true level, but I really just don't think so. I think that these ugly vegetables deserve a little bit of time in the spotlight because they are so damn good for you and your health. I just wanted to share the hideousness with you and then share how they can do for you. First and foremost, and I'm not just talking about kale, trendy ugly vegetables such as celery root, the root of celery, the green part that not only do we stick in our Bloody Marys on Sundays, but that actually is a great fiber load of any kind, a negative calorie vegetable. The root is not something that you should just toss out. This unappetizing root is actually an excellent source of vitamin C and K and has zero fat or cholesterol. It's a great way to get manganese, potassium, phosphorus, and that wonderful celery fiber into your diet. One thing that you can do with them is you can make roasted celery root chips. You grate it raw into a salad, or do the old-fashioned mash the celery root and have an alternative for mashed potatoes. Served cold, they really are top-notch and very fresh as a nice alternative to our age-old potato. Funny enough, it does pair well with apples or potatoes if you want to mix it into a fresh summer salad, and it has a very nutty flavor of cooked celery that also does very well with your fish dishes, which of course, moving into summer, we're all thinking beach and fresh and sushi. Give celery root a try. It looks like a bunch of weird little hands all put together. It's strange. And again, I'm talking all of these things I'm going to tell you about. All 11 of them are absolutely hideous. And if nothing else, you should just go to the store and look at them and just be like, oh, y'all are cute and hideous. And then understand that they do good things for you. The second thing is a sunchoke, which is truly named a Jerusalem artichoke, misnamed completely. These lumpy little tubers are actually part of the sunflower that our dear Native Americans used to harvest long ago. Fat, cholesterol, and sodium free. These are very ugly vegetables that have a very sweet, nutty flavor and are a huge source of vitamin B1 and a mega source of iron. So for all of my women out there, if you don't want to eat meat and you are looking for a supplement to pick up your iron, it's very hard to ingest iron from an actual pill perspective and retain any of it, so increasing your foods that are high in iron, such as the sunchoke, will help you do so. Roasted with a little olive oil, they're amazing. Throw some sea salt on it. You can honestly just eat sunchokes raw. If they're thinly shaved into a salad, they're amazing, but be aware, eating the skin has given them the unsightly and truthful name of the fartichoke. I don't have to explain it. If you want to give it a shot, be my guest. Just understand what can happen. My third one that I have fallen in love with recently, and it's one that looks like a pile of animal guts on your plate, is kimchi. It's actually fermented Napa cabbage, a very traditional Korean dish. Kimchi is a very spicy and sour tasting food, probably because it has been fermented underground in jars for months and months. It's a very acquired taste for most, but understand that this can be used in such a variety of different settings, and therefore you should take advantage of its many antioxidant powers, vitamins, and phytochemicals, because anything that is fermented, again, as we've just talked about with booze, does have positive effects on the body, and especially in maintaining and calming free radicals. So go give kimchi a shot. It's usually in the jar in the specialty section of your grocery store. That's where I found it. And it's really it's tart, to say the least. Just go give it a shot. Another really fun, hideous vegetable, which you might not know is hideous when you look at it the first time because it's always beautifully julienned in your salad, is jicama, with a J. It looks a little bit like a large brain neuron if it's just sitting on the ground, or a weird, like, kind of double-rooted potato, but it has a very mild flavor, a very juicy flesh, and a crunchy texture that is perfect for relishes, slaws, and stir-fries. This is very heavy in Mexican cuisine and is often served just thinly sliced, chilled, and put on a plate. Sprinkle it with some chili powder, and ladies and gentlemen, you have got yourself a summer treat like you cannot shake a stick at. Add some salt and some lime juice to that, and you will be calling me off the hook. Jicama is better than any chip I've ever had. It's hydrating, it's wonderful, again, fat and sodium free, and an excellent source of vitamin C and that elusive fiber that we all love so much. There is another one that's pretty intense. It's called kohlrabi, and I wouldn't even call it ugly. It's It looks like a misshapen eggplant that's been beaten with a stick. It's really very strange. It kind of tastes like a combination of cucumber and broccoli. I know that's weird, but again, we're talking about ugly vegetables here, so, cut them some slack. Huge, again, in vitamin C and fiber. Purple or green bulbs, they should be firm and heavy. They should have no bruises or cracks, even though they do appear as though they've been beaten by a stick. Roast or steam these, make it into a slaw. All of these can basically be made into a slaw and served raw, or if they're lightly shaved into a salad. But they all do great things for you, and kohlrabi, again, is one of the highest in sources of vitamin C out there. Again, very important for summertime, keeping it up, keeping it healthy, because regardless of what you think, there's lots of sickness that goes on in summer because it's the perfect time for bacteria to proliferate. So keep your vitamin C up, keep your shit healthy, keep moving. Braco flower is one of my favorites, and I don't really know why I've put this one on the list of ugly vegetables. This is just an intense, kind of creepy looking vegetable. Clearly at Trader Joe's and the other supermarkets, the broccoli and the cauliflower have been placed too close together, and they're having a lot of fun when no one's looking, and they've created this wonderful green spiral-like crossbreed between their two little roots. It's weird looking, guys. Go check this out. Braco flower, you can't miss it. It's lighter and sweeter than both of its parents. Fat, cholesterol, sodium-free. Braco flower is an excellent source of vitamin C, again, which is the unusual chartreuse color that adds to a unique level of visual punch. You can steam it, you can shave it, you can shock it, you can blanch it, anything you want, put it on there. It's such an incredible mix of broccoli and cauliflower. Go give it a shot. Nothing that you really should shy away from. Parsnips are on the list. I really hate parsnips. They remind me of, bad Christmas something, we can only eat parsnips. I don't know, it's weird. They're on the list. If you want to check out parsnips, you all know what they look like. They're white carrot-like weird roots that are huge in vitamin K, folate, potassium, and manganese. And they're really more flavorful and have very sweet taste. A lot of times they're used in jams and sweets in Europe. We're just not that huge on parsnips over here, but substitute them and roast them with your vegetables and then serve them cold. They're amazing when they're in there. It adds a really nice crunch, and again, obviously high in fiber. They have a natural, very low sodium content, which is really cool, and works well with salads, so definitely something else you can check out. And the last one that I really just thought was cool and fun is the cardoon. Not a cartoon, a cardoon. They're not just pretty flowers. When you see these things, you're going to be like, oh, well, Brandon has sent me to go look at a flowerscape. No, cardoons are actually the gnarly stalks that are underneath the pretty little purple puff of a flower. And they are, honestly, next to celery, so chock full of fiber and vitamin B6, copper, and manganese. You just really can't do anything better. They're amazing for you, except for the one thing on this list. Of course, the stalk that's got everything else in it for you, including iron, is a little high naturally in sodium, which is very rare for a plant. But this one in particular does have about 300 milligrams per serving of sodium, which, if you're watching your salt content, I would not recommend the cardoon unless you want to decorate with it while you look at your other ugly vegetables. That's all up to you. They taste like the best part of the artichoke, the heart, down deep inside, but they are so much less work. Hack that flower off the top, blanch those babies after you peel the leaves off, and then you just eat them. Dream come true. Double duty. Use them to decorate the table. And then when everybody else is gone, snip those flowers off, blanch that shit, and you get to eat it by yourself. Job well done. You get to do it. Go check out these ugly vegetables just in time for summer as you get ready to go try new things and feel different ways of how food can change not just your diet, but the way that you feel any given day. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got a little bit left before we actually get to summertime, but we are getting very, very close. So whatever you are doing, go give something new a try. Most importantly, go back to what we started this with. go take a second to sit back and say, what is my purpose? What are my goals, and how am I going to work to accomplish them? Not just today, but tomorrow. We can't have yesterday back, so let's just start on a fresh foot, ladies and gentlemen. We've got June in the summertime to take full advantage of, and you can guarantee your dumbbells are going to be right here the whole way. Ladies and gentlemen, have a great weekend no matter what you are doing. Take it one step, one time. I will see you next week.